So hey guys, today we're just going to be looking at the Tyrant cards and seeing like what they do and possible usages for them. So starting off with Tyrant's Temper, we have Tribute one monster to activate this card. All face-up monsters on the field that you own are unaffected by other trap cards. So with the wording on this, technically, if you use Tyrant's Temper, all of your face-up monsters on the field well, specifically that you own, so stolen monsters this does not apply to, funnily enough. But yeah, in general, your monsters will not be affected by like a skill drain, for example. But cards that affect players like Gozen still work. So Jank, and then we have Tyrant's Farm. Tribute one effect monster, special summon one non-effect monster with the same original type slash attribute from your graveyard. Well, that doesn't seem to do much, except I don't know what type Rika are, but maybe that's technically kind of useful, but it has to be in your graveyard, so that's the awkward part. But there is a good card for this. Share the Pain sends a card like a non-effect monster to the graveyard essentially, so might be useful for that. And then Tyrant's Tummy Ache. Activate by attributing one monster. Neither player can special summon a level 6 or higher monster. If you have 3 or more cards in your hand, destroy this card. So this card has a weird condition where you cannot have 3 or more cards in hand, so as long as you have 2, it should be fine. And no more than 2, I suppose. So, alright. So this just makes it so that neither player can special summon a level 6 or higher monster. Does this matter? I'm not certain. Well, anyways, Tyrant's Tirade. Tribute 2 monsters. Effects of effect monsters that activate in the hand or on the field cannot be activated. So, interestingly enough, effects of effect monsters that activate in the graveyard can still activate. And also, when I look at this, I have no idea. Like, these cards are super old, so here there is no problem solving card text on like any of these cards, I assume, right? But I assume this is tribute for cost, but it's not like super clear. Alright, Tyrant's Throws. Activate by attributing 2 normal monsters except for tokens. Neither player can normal or special summon effect monsters. So, alright. Tyrant's Tantrum. Activate by attributing 2 monsters. Your opponent cannot activate a spell card unless they also send 1 spell card from the deck to the graveyard. So, honestly, this card, probably the worst one out of all of them. Because, like, if your opponent has spells to send to the graveyard, I guess, it's pretty bad. This does nothing. The only saving grace of this card is that because your opponent must do this. What does this count as cost? If it counts as cost, kind of, for like your opponent, then you can like macro your opponent, so it becomes impossible to activate spells. But uh, we essentially need to attribute 2 monsters here, have Tyrant's Tantrum, and then we also need to go first, and we also, on top of that, need some way to macro our opponent. Well, that's a pain in the ass, isn't it? So, this one, immediately, completely unplayable. This one, this might be playable, honestly. Tyrant's Throws. You could do this, like, with Ignite without too much difficulty, because they should count as normal monsters, right? So, if we just pen summon some guys and then we tribute them, we're vibing. Tribute 2 monsters. Effects of effect monsters that activate in the hand or on the field cannot be activated. So this one's also like fairly playable. It's just tribute 2 monsters, and then like only graveyard or banish monsters can activate their effects. What decks can play under this? I don't know. Literally, no clue. But on the bright side, we can summon like a big Draco Berserker or something, like the Link 3 one, and then just beat down our opponent with it. So if we're considering a strategy like that, might be fine. And this one only tributes 1 monster though, but the condition here is a bit brutal. So this is playable and unplayable at the same time. If you consider like a low rarity format though, Tyrant's Tummy Ache is probably pretty good, and Tyrant's Tirade is iffy, but it might not be bad honestly because it doesn't require like uh normal monsters only, and then we have this. Tribute one monster to activate this card. All face-up monsters on the field that you own are unaffected by other trap cards. So this actually might have like some really niche usage that's like really dumb. But aside from that, might as well run just Royal Decree. Negate all other trap effects on the field. But honestly, there might be a case to run Tyrant's Temper. Since they're unaffected by other trap cards, what we can do with Tyrant's Temper, for example, is we can activate Torrential Tribute effect. And also, it's not really clear what this means. It says unaffected by other trap cards. Does it mean trap effects or something? So if I were to get rollback, hit by like rollback copying Torrential Tribute, does that like work? I mean, it is a trap card. So I want to say we're unaffected, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. So if our monsters specifically are unaffected, that is different from like a Royal Decree, which is interesting. Pretty hard to say what the right option for anything is here, though, so. What was the name of this card again? I think this was like alright for dealing with like floodgates. We have like Unending Nightmare. This doesn't like actually affect your traps either, though. So, your opponent's trap cards are still activatable, so stuff like Big Welcome can still work. So, I don't think there ever is a use case for Temper anymore. Like, unless you hit the lab cards, I don't think there's like a reason for this. If Skill Drain were at 3, there might be like a small use case for this, honestly. Because this tributes to activate, actually, that is useful for actually removing Skill Drain to an extent. Because I can then do this to tribute, like, let's say Baron or something. So we go chain 1 Baron effect, target Skill Drain, and then Tyrant's Temper. Like, that for that kind of reason, it's also not that bad. Like, this can quick effect can't tribute your monsters. So, a bit iffy on that, but no super good usage. But if I were to just pick a usage for these cards, it would probably be with like a normal pen strategy, where we're just pendulum summoning normal monsters. If we do this though, it doesn't actually show normal pendulum monsters, so whatever. So like I think Ignites and Draconia, like we have Dragoons of Draconia, Sea Dragoons of Draconia, Sky Dragoons of Draconia. All of these are normal monsters, Ignites as well. So a strategy using these guys is pretty easy, and because these cards don't send to the graveyard, they can be activated under macro, which is interesting, and they contribute 10 cards. Because you cannot send these guys to the graveyard for cost, because they can't be sent to the graveyard, they get sent to the extra deck instead, which makes me question why Macro Cosmos banishes these guys if they can't be sent to the graveyard to begin with. So, well, I mean for cost at least anyways. I guess they can be sent for effect. But this isn't sending by effect, is it? When I link these off. So, yeah. Anyways. For the most part, the Tyrant cards are super unusable. If we're looking at Tyrant's Tirade, the effect isn't even that good. For Tyrant's Throws, though, this can be pretty brutal. Neither player can normal or special summon effect monsters. The amount of decks this actually just completely rails is funny, because this is literally just Vanity's Emptiness, but a little bit better. So Vanity's Emptiness actually had this condition where if any card of yours leaves the field, it just destroys itself. Tyrant's Throws does not have that condition. So if we just care about the activated effect, Tyrant's Throws is actually just a lot better, and it's technically at 3, you know, so nothing's really stopping you from doing a Tyrant's Throws, except for the fact that you cannot special summon either, because you know, neither player can normal or special summon effect monsters. Well, there is one other usage, I guess, if you've noticed with some of these guys. So noticeably with Tyrant Throws, you're still allowed to set cards. So flip decks might be able to kind of utilize this a little bit, but I mean, if you don't have a way to protect this, it's still a bit vulnerable, which is a little feels bad, man. But no one's playing backroom removal right now, so I guess that would work. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.